Okay, so money, right? Specifically protecting it. We've gotten a ton of questions about term life insurance, which means you're already thinking ahead, which is awesome. So we're going to do a deep dive into like the whole world of term life, not just the basics, to see how it can really, help you level up your financial game.
You know what's funny about term life? People see it as this one-size-fits-all thing, but when you really get into it, there are all these hidden layers that make it way more adaptable than people think.
Right. It seems pretty simple. At first glance, pay for coverage, something happens, your family is protected. But I feel like there's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, there definitely is. So basically, term life means you're choosing coverage for a set amount of time, could be 10, 20, even 30 years. And yeah, the main idea is that IF and that if is important. If you die during that time, the policy pays a specific amount, a lump sum, to whoever you chose to be your beneficiary.
Okay, so it's like a safety net for a specific part of your life.
Yeah.
So when does it make the most sense to go with term life? Like, why would someone choose this over other kinds of life insurance?
Well, one of the biggest things is just how straightforward it is. You're getting pure life insurance, no bells and whistles, not like permanent life insurance, which gets really complicated with investments and stuff. And because it's so simple, it's also way cheaper, especially if you want to get good coverage.
So it's like the budget-friendly option that doesn't mess around when it comes to protecting your people.
I like it.
Really. And I'm guessing that simplicity also plays into how flexible it is.
Totally. You're not stuck with it forever, and you can pick the term, that length of time we were talking about, to match what you need to get done. So say you have a mortgage for 25 years. Get a 25-year term life policy. Something happens to you, boom, your family isn't stuck with that debt.
Oh, that's smart. So you're like timing things to protect your family from financial stress during a time that's already going to be hard enough.
Exactly. And here's something else you can actually use term life as a safety net for, like stuff beyond just you, like business loans even.
Wait, seriously? Business owners can use this too. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so say you and a partner are all in on a business. You can actually set up a term life policy so that if one of you dies, the payout goes to the other partner. That way they can buy out the shares from, whoever inherits the deceased partner's stuff. Keeps the business running without any legal battles between family and surviving partner, it's a whole thing.
Wow, that is seriously smart. I never would have thought of that.
Me-
I love that it's not just about your own personal finances, but it's about making sure everyone is protected.
Yeah, peace of mind for everyone. And speaking of peace of mind, you can even use term life as part of, get this, your retirement plan.
Okay, now you're messing with me. How does it even work? I thought the whole point was that it was for a specific amount of time, not like decades down the line.
It does seem kind of backwards, I know. But there's this strategy called buy term and invest the difference. And it's actually pretty cool.
Okay, so we were just about to get into this whole buy term and invest the difference thing. And I got to say, you've got my attention. It's not every day you hear life insurance and retirement planning in the same sentence.
Right. It's a totally different way of thinking about your finances. So instead of putting all that money into a permanent life insurance policy, which can get really pricey, you go with the cheaper option, term life.
So you end up with extra cash each month. Okay, so then what? How does the investing part work?
That's the cool part. You take those savings, right, from the lower premiums, and you invest them. Could be mutual funds, stocks, whatever lines up with, how much risk you're comfortable with and what you want to do with your money long term.
So you're building wealth at the same time you've got that safety net of coverage.
Exactly. It's like making the most of what you've got. But, like any investment strategy, there's always some risk. You got to do your homework.
That makes sense. You don't want to just jump in without a plan.
Yeah.
What are some things people should think about before they try this?
Well, the first thing is to really understand how much risk you're okay with. Are you comfortable with the market going up and down? Because you can't expect to get rich quick with this strategy. It's more about slow and steady, consistent investing over time.
Patience is key. You're not going to be rolling in dough tomorrow, but if you can stick with it, it could really pay off.
Exactly. And that's why you need a good investment plan. Do you want to choose your own stocks, or are you more into index funds or something like that? Things like that.
Sounds like this would be a good time to talk to a financial advisor too, someone you trust.
Absolutely. They can help you figure out all those details and adjust your plan as you go.
Okay, so someone's listening to this and thinking, this buy term and invest the difference thing sounds interesting. What are some key things they need to keep in mind?
Well, for starters, make sure you pick the right term life policy? Like, is the coverage enough? Don't just choose the cheapest thing if it won't actually protect your family.
It's about, like, finding that middle ground, right? Enough coverage without going broke.
Exactly. And don't forget about the term length either. It needs to cover the time when your family is like the most financially vulnerable if something were to happen.
Makes sense. Okay, so once you've got the policy figured out, how about the investing part?
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You always hear that, and it's true. You want to spread your investments around stocks, bonds, even real estate. Helps you balance out the risk and hopefully, see more growth over time.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like a life lesson and investment strategy all in one round.
Right. Even if this specific strategy isn't a good fit for everyone, there are still some things about term life insurance that are important no matter what.
It feels like we've only scratched the surface here, even though we've been talking about term life for a while now. There's a lot to think about, but are there any, like, big picture things people should remember, no matter what their situation is?
For sure. One of the biggest is to get started early. Seriously, the younger and healthier you are when you get a policy, the less you're going to pay. It's just like basic math.
Right. Like the early bird gets the worm, but with life insurance. Makes sense, though. You're a much lower risk when you're younger.
Exactly. And with term life, that's a big deal because whatever you lock in at the beginning, that's your rate for like the whole term, even if your health changes later on.
So get a good rate early on, and you're golden. What else is important?
Don't go overboard with coverage. It's easy to think more is always better, right? But really, you want enough to cover what you need, not just pay for something you're not going to use. Like, look at your finances, what you'd need to cover if something happened. Mortgage, kids, any debts, that kind of stuff.
Be realistic.
Yeah.
You want security, not to be drowning in costs.
Right. Right. And, whether you go with this whole buy term and invest thing or something totally different, just knowing what your options are is huge. The more you know about this stuff, the better choices you can make about your money.
So true. Man, this whole deep dive has been really eye-opening. I feel like I aced Term Life 101 or something.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear.
I love it. Well, on that note, as we wrap up, here's something to think about. Imagine right now that you've got a plan, a solid plan that's going to protect your family and help you build a better future. That's the power of knowing how term life insurance works. This article is sponsored by Helen Hou. If you want to learn more, call 650-678-0718. She is an insurance specialist and can solve all of your insurance needs.